We sacrifice unto Mithra, the lord of wide pastures, sleepless and ever awake, whose long arms, strong with Mithra's strength, encompass what he seizes in the easternmost river, and what he beats with the westernmost river, what is by the Sanaka of the Rangha, and what is by the boundary of the earth. And thou, O Mithra, encompassing all this around, do thou reach it all over with thy arms. The man without glory, led astray from the right way, grieves in his heart. The man without glory thinks thus in himself, that careless Mithra does not see all the evil that is done, nor all the lies that are told. But I think thus in my heart, should the evil thoughts of the earthly man be 100 times worse, they would not rise so high as the good thoughts of the heavenly Mithra. Should the evil words of the earthly man be 100 times worse, they would not rise so high as the good words of the heavenly Mithra. Should the evil deeds of the earthly man be 100 times worse, they would not rise so high as the good deeds of the heavenly Mithra. Should the heavenly wisdom in the earthly man be 100 times greater, it would not rise so high as the heavenly wisdom in the heavenly Mithra. And thus, should the ears of the earthly man hear 100 times better, he would not hear so well as the heavenly Mithra, whose ear hears well, who has 1,000 senses, and who sees every man that tells a lie. Mithra stands up in his strength. He drives in the awfulness of royalty, and sends from his eyes beautiful looks that shine from afar, saying, Who will offer me sacrifice? Who will lie unto me? Who thinks me a god worthy of sacrifice? Who thinks me worthy only of a bad sacrifice? To him shall I in my might impart brightness and glory. To whom bodily health? To whom shall I in my might impart riches and full weal? Whom shall I bless by raising him a virtuous offspring? To whom shall I give in return, without his thinking of it, the awful sovereignty, beautifully arrayed with many armies, and most perfect, the sovereignty of an all-powerful tyrant, who fells down heads, valiant, smiting, and unsmitten, who orders chastisement to be done, and his order is done at once, which he has ordered in his anger. O Mithra, when thou art offended and not sacrificed, he soothes thy mind and makes Mithra satisfied. To whom shall I, in my might, impart sickness and death? To whom shall I impart poverty and sterility? Of whom shall I at one stroke cut off the offspring? From whom shall I take away, without his thinking of it, the awful sovereignty, beautifully arrayed with many armies, and most perfect, the sovereignty of an all-powerful tyrant, who fells down heads, valiant, smiting and unsmitten, who orders chastisement to be done, and his order is done at once, which he has ordered in his anger. O Mithra, while thou art satisfied and not angry, he moves thy heart to anger and makes Mithra unsatisfied. For his brightness and glory, I will offer him a sacrifice worthy of being heard. Hymn 28. We sacrifice unto Mithra, the lord of wide pastures, sleepless and ever awake, a warrior with a silver helm, gold cuirass, who kills with the poniard. Strong, valiant, lord of the burrow, bright are the ways of Mithra, by which he goes towards the country, when, wishing well, he turns its plains and vales to pasture grounds. And then cattle and males come to graze, as many as he wants. May Mithra and Ahura, the high gods, come to us for help. When the poniard lifts up its voice aloud, when the nostrils of the horses quiver, when the strings of the bows whistle and shoot sharp arrows, then the brood of those whose libations are hated fall smitten to the ground, with their hair torn off. So mayest thou, O Mithra, Lord of wide pastures, give swiftness to our team, strength to our own bodies, and that we may watch with full success those who hate us, smite down our foes, and destroy at one stroke our adversaries, our enemies, and those who hate us. For his brightness and glory I will offer him a sacrifice worth being heard. Hymn 26. We sacrifice unto Mithra, the Lord of wide pastures, sleepless and ever awake, the warrior of the white horse, of the sharp spear, the long spear, the quick arrows, foreseeing and clever, whom Ahura Mazda has established to maintain and look over all the moving world, and who maintains and looks over all the moving world, who never sleeping, wakefully guards the creation of Mazda, who, never sleeping, wakefully maintains the creation of Mazda. For his brightness and glory I will offer him a sacrifice worth being heard. Hymn number 18. We sacrifice unto Mithra, the Lord of wide pastures, sleepless and ever awake, before whom Verathragna, made by Ahura, runs opposing the foes in the shape of a boar, a sharp-toothed he-boar, a sharp-jawed boar that kills at one stroke, pursuing, wrathful, with a dripping face, strong, with iron feet, iron forepaws, iron weapons, an iron tail and iron jaws, who, eagerly clinging to the fleeing foe, along with manly courage, smites the foe in battle, and does not think he has smitten him, nor does he consider it a blow till he has smitten away the marrow, and the column of life, the marrow and the spring of existence. He cuts all the limbs into pieces, and mingles together with the earth the bones, hair, brains, and blood of the men who have lied unto Mithra. For his brightness and glory we offer him a sacrifice worth being heard. Hymn number 15. We sacrifice unto Mithra, the Lord of wide pastures, sleepless and ever awake, firm-legged, a watcher fully awake, valiant, a chief in assemblies, making the waters flow forward, listening to appeals, making the waters run and the plants grow up, ruling over the Kashwars, delivering, happy, undeceivable, endowed with many senses, a creature of wisdom, who gives neither strength nor vigor to him who has lied unto Mithra, who gives neither glory nor any boon to him who has lied unto Mithra. Thou takest away the strength from their arms, being angry and all-powerful. Thou takest the swiftness from their feet, the eyesight from their eyes, the hearing from their ears. Nor the wound of the well-sharpened spear, or of the flying arrow reaches that man to whom Mithra comes for help. With all the strength of his soul, he, of the 10,000 spies, the powerful, all-knowing, undeceivable God, for his brightness and glory I will offer him a sacrifice worth being heard. Hymn number 12. We sacrifice unto Mithra, the Lord of wide pastures, sleepless and ever awake, for whom the Maker, Ahura Mazda, has built up a dwelling on the Hara Barazati, the bright mountain, around which many stars revolve, where come neither night nor darkness, no cold wind, no hot wind, no deathful sickness, no uncleanness made by the Devas, and the clouds cannot reach up to the high Haraiti Baraza, a dwelling that all the Amesha Spentas, in one accord with the sun, made for him in the fullness of faith of a devoted heart, and he surveys the whole of material world from there, on the Haraiti Baraza. And when there rushes a wicked worker of evil, swiftly, with a swift step, Mithra, the Lord of wide pastures, goes and yokes his horses to his chariot, along with the holy, powerful Srosha and Naryo Sangha, who strikes a blow that smites the army, that smites the strength of the malicious. For his brightness and glory I will offer him a sacrifice worth being heard. Hymn number 35. We sacrifice unto Mithra, the Lord of wide pastures, who is truth-speaking, a chief in assemblies, with 1,000 ears, well shapen, with 1,000 eyes, high, with full knowledge, strong, sleepless, and ever awake. We sacrifice unto Mithra around the countries. We sacrifice unto Mithra within the countries. We sacrifice unto Mithra in this country. We sacrifice unto Mithra above the countries. We sacrifice unto Mithra under the countries. We sacrifice unto Mithra before the countries. We sacrifice unto Mithra behind the countries. We sacrifice unto Mithra and Ahura, the two great, imperishable holy gods, and unto the stars, and the moon, and the sun, with the trees that yield up, Baresma. We sacrifice unto Mithra, the Lord of all countries. For his brightness and glory I will offer unto him a sacrifice worth being heard, namely unto Mithra, the Lord of wide pastures. Yatha ahu vairo. The will of the Lord is the law of holiness. I bless the sacrifice, and Payir, and the strength and vigor of Mithra, the Lord of wide pastures, who has 1,000 ears, 10,000 eyes, Ayazata, invoked by his own name, and that of Rama Avesta. Hashem Vohu, holiness is the best of all good. Give unto that man brightness and glory. Give him the bright, all-happy, blissful abode of the holy ones.